You gotta be out of high school 2 years.
Okay, ready to roll? Okay, it's 12:30. We'll open the meeting, call it to order, and I'll ask Commissioner Shermack to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We already had our moment of silence for Notre Dame and Penn State, so we'll move on to regular business. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review the meeting minutes from our December 18 meeting. And if so, I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading and approve them as submitted.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Second. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The meeting minutes from December 18, 2024 are approved. Next, anybody from the public wish to address the board on agenda items? Joan.
Joan Hodawanitz, Scranton. I just want to raise two comments so that when Warden Betty presents his report, then he can address them at that time. One, I was looking at the overtime comparison chart. The total figures for 2024 were 2.9 million, but we've only budgeted 2.5 million for this year. I just want to know, in his opinion, do we have the staffing and the ability to meet that budget, or might we go over like we did last year? He can talk about that. And I read through most of the inspection report from last year's annual inspection, and I thought it was a very thorough and comprehensive report. In the military, we would call this a white glove inspection. They look for any trace of dirt anywhere, and they found, obviously, they would find things, and they were corrected, and I don't see any issue. But if he could, when he discusses this report, try to put it into context with how we compare with other county prisons and their inspections. If you would, when you get up, Warren Betty. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. Anybody else from the public on agenda items? Okay, if not, we'll move forward. First motion on the agenda is a motion to approve all the current payables for the Community Corrections Center and the prison. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review those. They were circulated in advance of today's meeting. If so, and there's no problems, I'll entertain a motion to approve the payables.
Motion. Second.
I have a motion and a second. On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. The motion is approved. Next, we'll turn to Controller DeBillio for his report.
Yes, Judge, thank you. Controller's report of the prison inmate and canteen accounts for December 2024. The Controller's office reviewed the prison inmate and canteen account reconciliations, which were prepared by the prison business office for the month of November 2024, and found no discrepancies between the reconciliations and the bank statement. The balance in the inmate account was $363,807.76 as of December 31st, 2024. The balance in the canteen checking account was $515,991.27 as of December 31st. In addition, as of December 31st, the canteen account also included a balance in the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, two of them, totaling $923,323.87, earning approximately $4,000 per month, which will mature in January of 2025. Regarding the investments with Pliget, Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, our canteen account invested with Pliget at our last meeting on December the 18th, and we voted to renew one of our Pliget investments in the amount of $857,064.56, which was maturing on January the 10th, which was obviously before today's meeting. The $857,064.56 did get reinvested for another 180 days at a rate that was effective January 10th of 4.40% annualized rate.
Sure that wasn't 400%?
It was almost 400%, 4.4. Now our smaller Pliget investment of $105,447.80 as of December 31st will mature tomorrow on January 23rd. We should vote today on renewing that investment for another 180 days if the board so chooses. The current rate as of today is 4.41%, and we would get tomorrow's rate, whatever that may turn out to be. So with that said, we can revisit voting on that at today's meeting. And during the month of December 2024, $79,105.56 was paid from the canteen account for the benefit, welfare, and education of county inmates. And an itemized listing of those charges are attached to my report. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. DiBilio. Any questions for the controller on his report? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve it.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. And following up on your observation of the time for renewal.
Yeah, tomorrow, $105,447.80 would mature. And if we so choose to reinvest that for another 180 days, as of tomorrow, we'll get tomorrow's rate. And I could make a motion to that effect to renew our $105,000 investment for another 180 days as of tomorrow, January 23rd.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
On the question? It'll be whatever the rate is tomorrow.
Yes,
You don't anticipate any big fluctuations either way, do you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
4.41 as of today.
Right, okay. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. What do you need from us, anything? In order to roll it over, do you need anything from us?
No, we'll
You just-
take care of it from
Signature?
our office. We'll talk to the prison business office
Okay.
today.
Okay,
Okay?
very good.
Suggest we start calendaring when these are expiring so that we can get it on the agenda, just have a little lead time in case anybody wants to take a look at any other options before
Sure.
they come in here.
Sure, we'll do, Dave.
Yeah, so the one that was approved last month for 180 days will be coming up again.
Yeah. So it'll be roughly July the 9th and July the 23rd, roughly.
Okay,
Can we get them on the agenda ahead of time so we can look?
sure.
Okay.
We'll put them on for June.
Okay.
How's that? Okay. Right in time for my birthday, but that has nothing to do with anything, just to put it in the record. That's all. All right, thank you, Mr. DiBilio. Next, we'll hear from Mr. McConaughey and the Community Corrections. We'll note for the record that he's wearing short sleeves and it's single-digit temperatures outside.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the house arrest report for the month of December. Adult house arrest had 170 participants. Juvenile had 32. Programs revenues, house arrest had $59,862.83. Juvenile had $6,420 for a total of $66,282.83. Year-to-date totals on both was $710,703.31. Programs expenses were $79,414.89. Programs completions, there was 27. Violations, there was 8. We still have 4 outstanding warrants for house arrest. The overall budget, overtime was at 77%, expenses at 99%, and revenues at 101%. And that's the end of my report.
Any questions for Mr. McConaughey? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve his report.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second on the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Your report is approved for January. Thank you, Mr. McConaughey.
Good day.
Stay warm. Okay, next we'll hear from the warden.
Good afternoon, Board. The average daily population for December was 671 inmates, 540 were county inmates, and we averaged 585 adult males, 3 juvenile males, and 83 adult females. The average daily population of U.S. Marshal detainees was 131. Our overtime and out-of-county boarding reports are attached. The staffing update. Currently, our staffing numbers break down to 171 full-time officers on shift, 5 who are out on workers' comp, 97 have intermittent FMLA, we have 1 on administrative leave, and 5 full-time vacancies. However, those 5 vacancies are going to be filled next week. They're signed off on, ready to start. 5 of our part-timers will be bumping up to full-time next Wednesday. So we'll have 0 full-time vacancies as of next Wednesday. As of December 31st, revenue was at 78%, expenses were at 97%. Extraordinary occurrence reports, there were no extraordinary occurrence reports in the month of December. PREA, there was 1 PREA investigation completed in the month. It was an allegation of inmate sexual contact. It was deemed unfounded. The investigation paperwork has been forwarded to the DA's office for further action if deemed appropriate. Our Title 37 inspection, the prison underwent an annual inspection in late July of 2024, and the final report was received over the holidays. The results of the annual inspection are that we received 1 deficiency and 4 citations. More specifically, the citations and deficiency are: the deficiency was section 95.233, visiting. The inspectors observed that the official visitors logbook, where official visitors self-record their coming and going into the facility, was not accurately reflecting the departures of the official visitors. That is, official visitors were not signed out upon departure in a consistent manner. Citation 1 is section 95.230, food service. The inspectors found that the inventory and accountability process regarding culinary items was not compliant with the standards. That is, the supporting documentation lacked consistency and accuracy. Citation 2, the inspectors did not observe support documentation validating the annual emergency plan training for staff. In response, we provided them with a corrective action that included training and retraining of staff on all emergency plans via email. However, the inspectors determined that this response cannot be accepted for compliance. Citation 3, the section 95.2416, tool equipment control. The inspectors did not observe support documentation regarding tools and equipment inspections to determine the status, condition, and need for action in several areas of the facility, such as our food service area, the officer's shack, and the maintenance area. Citation 4 is section 95.2484, sanitation, maintenance, and safety. The inspectors did not observe the documentation of accountability was completed in a consistent manner regarding the storage of cleaning chemicals in several locations of the facility, specifically our Bravo housing unit, the officer shack, and the intake area. We've been scheduled for our 2025 annual inspection in early May of this year, and we have already implemented improved tracking and monitoring to ensure that these several items are addressed and permanently corrected. Before I conclude my report, I'll address those two things that Joan had mentioned regarding the overtime. If you notice, we did significantly better towards the end of the year. Part of that was being fully staffed. The other part of that was our medical health care provider worked with us to try to eliminate the number of visits, medical appointments and visits to hospitals, and that helped significantly. The initial projections were that we were going to come out significantly higher in our overtime. So we did a really good job, especially the last quarter of the year was controlling that. I anticipate and expect that we'll do the same. A real key to that is keeping the full-time staffing up as high as we can keep it up. That helps out tremendously. Regarding the inspection in context with other facilities you had mentioned, I honestly don't know. I know that this time around, they seem to be a lot more focused in on the really finer details. The white glove is really white this time around. I wish we got 100% compliance. We did not. The things that were cited, it boils down to we have to do a better job with our documentation and tracking of things. I'm not gonna say, oh, there's anything major there. There's not. We've already corrected these things. Right now, myself and the deputy wardens and the captain, we are going through the facility on a weekly basis, making sure that the documentation is up to par and that nobody lets up. We want it to be ingrained so much with our own staff that it becomes second nature to do this really good, tight documentation. Because that's basically what it comes down to, the citations and the deficiency we got. It's all about documentation. And with that, I conclude my report.
Any questions for the warden? Okay, if not, I have a question. I noticed the average daily population was down south of 700. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it south of 700.
It seems to go in patterns, and to be honest with you, every December our population dips. And I think a lot of times it's folks are not being incarcerated or getting out. Christmas time, the holidays, I think there's an extra effort on everybody's part to clear out as many people as can possibly be cleared out. So there's usually a dip in December itself. Our population over the last several months has dipped down a little bit because we were running over 700, yes. So good signs.
Well, and can that have an impact on overtime as well?
Definitely. As a result of that, right now, we have several housing units that are closed. Okay. Whenever we have a closed housing unit, we're saving, it depends if it's a one-officer post or a two-officer post. So we're saving 3 to 6 slots, posts per day.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the warden's report.
Motion. Second.
On the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, warden.
Thank you.
Anybody from the public wish to address the board? Joan?
Well, Joan Hodawan, Scranton. Now that Donald Trump has returned to the White House, basically we have a new sheriff in town. He's made it very clear that one of his priorities is finding and deporting undocumented immigrants, to include rounding them up from schools and churches and obviously prisons. I don't know, have undocumented immigrants at our county prison, has there ever been an issue? Have they ever been, rounded up and taken away by federal authorities? Or Are we even considering, do we have policies and procedures in place in case President Trump does go forward with this kind of aggressive policy?
I'm not aware of any rounding up in my history, either as a private attorney, as a assistant U.S. attorney, or as a judge. So, but I suppose maybe Tim might be able to speak a little bit more authoritatively to that.
Yeah, do you think Donald Trump will get down to that level? Coming down into the various prisons?
I'm not going to comment on any levels that I think he can go to.
Yeah, I'm staying away from that as well, Your Honor.
Yeah.
But regarding that, in the past, we housed immigration and customs enforcement detainees. Currently, if something were to happen, whether it be one individual or some kind of a raid, that would fall under the U.S. Marshals. They would, if they needed to utilize bed space at our facility, they would come in as U.S. Marshal detainees while they're, I guess, assessed regarding their immigration status. We would not keep somebody that was solely for immigration and customs enforcement, but we could temporarily have somebody there. Again, in the past, we had a contract with immigration, and we held a good number of individuals there, but we don't do that anymore. Currently, they go to other facilities.
I think Joan's inquiry was more along the lines of, do we anticipate anybody from ICE or the marshals coming in and going through our population, our non-federal population, and looking for undocumented?
We report daily, and there are individuals that are looked at. We report every commitment to the federal agencies, and they will check that. So it's routinely, it'll be discovered if a person's arrested and they happen to be an undocumented, they'll answer to the local charges first, but they may end up with a detainer on them. And when the local charges are cleared up or sentences imposed or whatever, then immigration might take a look at them at that point. Sorry, I took too long.
Has that been the practice that's been in place for
Yeah.
a long time?
Always.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Well, when you said there's a new sheriff in town, I don't want you to think that's why Sheriff McAndrew left. I think he's just gone to the men's room. I think he'll be back. Anybody else from the public? Thomas?
Good afternoon. Tom McHugh. I'm the chair of the Lackawanna County Reentry Task Force. And I just want to give people a little bit of an update or some new information with our housing program. Due to some successful fundraising over the last year or so, we have a pretty robust balance in our account for housing. So people that are anticipating getting released from prison and looking for a home, a successful home plan, we have funding up to $100,000 a person if they request funding to help them find a safe, affordable housing, which would help with a successful home plan. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. I had a meeting yesterday. Well, we had a reentry task force meeting yesterday. Gene Iden from the probation was there. We talked. That office, I think, is critical in going through the process of people being informed that they're going to be released from prison, looking for housing, and looking for some funding to help them get safe, affordable housing. So we do have a lot of money available, and I want to encourage anybody who is interested that has somebody who's looking for safe, affordable housing to let myself or Lou Guzzi from DATS as our treasurer to hit us up and let us know that there's somebody who may be interested in being able to be available or eligible for the funding, and we'll take the process and we'll go from there. I want to thank District Attorney's Office, Drug and Alcohol. They've been two very big supporters of us throughout the year. We had a successful festival, raised some funds, so we have probably close to $20,000 in our budget now that is available for people looking for some support for, like, it'd be for first month's rent and a security deposit. And there'll be a process, there's an application process. Again, probation's involved as far as approving the process and making sure that the funds are going to go to a reputable landlord and that the housing that people are looking for is safe and affordable.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Tom.
Yep.
Appreciate it. See, I told you he'd be back.
We're talking about the new sheriff
Good afternoon, Board. Maggie Craig from Scranton. I'm here today to bring up some concerns regarding law library access inside of the prison. As I'm sure you know, it's the constitutional right of incarcerated individuals to have access to the courts or to a law library. Inside the prison, there's no physical law library. There's an app on the tablets, but the app has been broken and inconsistently available for the past 6 months, so since August. As a side note, the prison pays LexisNexis about $1,200 a month for this law library access, so that's about $7,000 of wasted funds since August. So yeah, the first concern is that the app has been broken, and then another concern is that people in solitary confinement don't have access to tablets, and so therefore do not have access to the law library. I believe there used to be a cart that would go around to folks in solitary, but that cart has been broken. So I have a question for the board. Will you commit to making sure that this link on the tablet to LexisNexis is fixed so that there's law library access?
Oh, yeah, there's an obligation. We have an obligation to do it. Is that Colleen or Tim, or can you?
I'm hearing about the link not working. I've never been informed that the link was not working. And that comes directly through Viapath and their providers.
Okay.
Nobody has told me that it was not working.
Okay.
And I recently purchased a computer for the cart that the IT department put together for the RHU status. So I'm not aware of that being broken either.
So the cart may have been fixed. There's a new computer for the cart.
Yeah, I don't ever remember, I was never told that it wasn't working.
Okay.
I have to check on that.
All right, we'll double check and make sure it's going.
And
But
then-
they do, people in the RHU have access to the law library.
Perfect,
Yeah.
thank you. And one follow-up question, if I may.
Sure.
Thank you. Will the board commit to visiting the prison to see the physical law library that is available now and navigate the law library that is available on the tablets to see if that navigation and tablet use is adequate in your opinion?
Sure. My understanding is that the law library itself is digital. They're
Yeah.
not a physical, but we'll take a look, absolutely.
So you'll access the digital one on the
Sure.
tablet to have your own?
Because we're going to have, David can go out before it, but we have our March meeting will be at the prison, because we go out quarterly to the prison, but, and I'll ask David to check on it and report to us. What? Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Bev?
Bev DeBarro, Scranton. Following up with what Maggie said, we advocates have a monthly meeting at St. Luke's to inform each other what we're finding out about what the needs are at the prison. And we can come up with solutions too, but we're having trouble communicating with the board. 3 minutes isn't much because, our meetings are longer than that with a lot of input. People that can contribute don't have they're working, their work day. I can come because I'm self-employed and can come. The actual law library that is in the prison, that's the one that's the big problem, the one with the copy machines, and that hasn't been adequate since August. The reason I know this or have heard this is because when it came up at the meeting, they said they know that I go in, and I go in on Tuesdays, and so yesterday I was there and I asked the women what's the circumstances, and they said that since August they have not been able to get into the actual law library. that's located like before you go into the kitchen, or the chapel's here and the law library's over here. It's very visible from the hallway. It's in August, one woman, she was probably the last one, she got in there and got information, but she couldn't print it off. And she did her own plea. This is a sample of what it would look like. This was done by another person in a couple years ago in the jail. And when he did his own, you can see writing his own, because he couldn't print it off. And that was for a case summary, and a motion to modify this very, very good work here. And here, so this woman, she did go, she made one like this in her handwriting and sent it by certified mail, and spent $9 to have it certified. And then she mailed it to the wherever, and still never even got a reply on that. So it's just discouraging in there. This is, I know, this is a more complex one, with, again, work from an inmate doing his own research and this was from a state prison. This isn't from our jail. This is to show you what can be done when you have the right equipment, the copy machines and so forth. If we could get everything up and running properly, I think it could be run 24/7 to accommodate the 700 or 800 people that are in there, and that want anybody that wants the access, especially on the third shift. I mean, people are awake in the night anyway, and they can sleep in the day, and to come in and use the library to extend, the access to it once it's running. And since it has been not accessible for 6 months, 5 to 6 months, at $1,200 a month that we're paying LexisNexis. And so I think once it gets started, we should get the next 5 or 6 months without deducting that from the commissary account to make up for all this lost money that's being spent without results. Whenever the commissioners were running for election, they did come. So you're familiar with our advocates meeting at St. Luke's. And we were so encouraged because you asked questions, you took notes, and we thought there was good interest in getting a lot of the problems righted here at the jail. I wish you would come back once in a while, or give us access to come and see you in your office, because there are many things that seem small, but they're not small. And the last one I'll mention is no contact visits for the inmates with children, and even children in youth services are saying about that. And the room is right there. I don't know the holdup, but these mothers with young children, they need to have physical contact with their kids, as is supposed to be provided for. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Bev. Anybody else from the public?
I think Deputy Warden Orzel had prepared a response on, some of the detail on that, but I think we can work with them, maybe see about filing with the prothonotary. We can avoid some of the problems with the mailing and the cost and things getting lost that she brought up to address that. I think that's something we could do internally to improve the process for legal pleadings.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Deputy Warden Orzel circulated a memo the other day in response to a number of these, so I think everybody's up to speed on it. You can address it.
To kind of
just address what Maggie mentioned before. Again, I have not been, or nobody has been alerted to the link not working on the tablets. I feel that if that were the case, we would have been inundated with grievances. So I will personally check on that when we get back. But we did, in fact, close the law library in August. The law library is the access to legal resources, and that's the software that we use so the inmates have access to legal resources. Over the years, the common understanding of law library was the room that was used, and that's not a law library. It's just a room with several computers and the printer and the copy machine. So currently, inmates have endless access to LexisNexis on the tablets, and they can do all the legal research that they'd like. We offer individual time in a classroom with a computer for people that request it. We have several inmates that view discovery and legal research from their attorneys and other law enforcement agencies. I frequently work with the Public Defender's Office, the Federal Public Defender's Office. We give inmates access to tablets or laptops and computers so they can look up stuff, write their court summaries or whatever they're doing. I actually did research last year throughout the state with county facilities on what people do for access to courts because we want to make sure that we are strictly in line with what Title 37 requires, because we certainly do not want to violate any rights by any means. We don't have many inmates that are pro se, so we do have some inmates that are self-representing. So we often try to accommodate them as much as possible. Our staff at the prison, our quarter officers, our shift commanders, they do a great job with trying to coordinate, like I said, getting inmates into a classroom to access the the laptops or the computers. We have counselors there that I had put out, when we did close a law library, we put out protocols. If an inmate wants something printed or a form, they can put in the request with the counselor or anybody else and have that done. Everything is available upon request. And personally, I'm getting requests just to reopen the law library. But again, that's just a physical room, and it just is not conducive to security because it became a common place for inmates to damage computers, make threats to other inmates on the computers. They somehow manipulate the software on the computer so that they can enable or disable certain things in the computers. It became an area where inmates were able to pass contraband. They were lifting up the carpets and putting things under the carpet. So security-wise and safety-wise for inmates, it had to be closed. It was just what was needed. There's only a couple of computers in that room, and there would be a meeting of 50 inmates in that room. It was not effective. It was not constructive. So in our discussions about closing that room, it was the best idea because we did not take away their right to legal resources. Inmates write to judges and they petition the courts all the time in handwritten form, so it's not necessary that they have a computer to type or word processing. So again, I don't see how we're restricting their access to legal resources, but I will personally check on all the computers that are on mobile carts and the app for the LexisNexis. Again, I was never informed of it, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anybody else from the public? Okay, if not, we need to go into executive session to discuss a legal matter, so I'll ask everybody to step out of the room, please. That means you. Okay, we're back from our executive session, at which we discussed pending legal matters. And so, do any of the members have any other business? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion. Second? On the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. We are adjourned. See you next month. Thank you, everybody.